In the summer of 1808, one man found himself standing alone on the edge of death. He had no weapon, no horse, no place to hide, and surrounding him were hundreds of warriors. The men watching him had already decided his fate. He was going to die. The only question was how long it would take. But what happened next would become one of the greatest survival stories in American history. A story so extraordinary that even today, more than 200 years later, people still debate how one man could possibly have survived it. His name was John Colter. And this is the story of Colter's Run. Long before his famous escape, John Colter had already earned a reputation as one of the toughest men on the frontier. He had traveled alongside the legendary Lewis and Clark expedition. For years he explored lands that few Americans had ever seen. He crossed mountains, navigated wild rivers, survived brutal winters, and learned how to live in places where most men would perish. The wilderness was his home. But even all those years of experience could not prepare him for what was about to happen. By 1808, Colter was working as a trapper in the vast wilderness west of the Missouri River. The fur trade was booming. Beaver pelts could fetch a small fortune, and men like Colter risked everything to obtain them. Life was dangerous, but the rewards were worth it, at least most of the time. One morning, Colter and a companion were traveling by canoe along a remote river. The day seemed peaceful. The water was calm, the air was warm, and nothing suggested that danger was near. Then they heard it. A sound unlike anything else. Voices. Many voices. Shouting from the riverbank. Before they could react, warriors emerged from the brush. Dozens of them. Then more. And more. The shoreline seemed alive with armed men. Colter and his companion realized immediately that escape was impossible. Their canoe was trapped. The river offered no protection. Within moments they were surrounded. Accounts differ on exactly what happened next. But all agree on one thing. John Colter was now a prisoner, and his chances of survival were almost non-existent. Many men captured in similar situations never returned. The frontier was a brutal place. Mercy was rare, and Colter knew this. Yet despite the fear he must have felt, witnesses later described him as calm. Perhaps he understood that panic would accomplish nothing, or perhaps years in the wilderness had taught him to accept whatever fate awaited him. Hours passed. The warriors debated what to do. Then a decision was made, one that would become legendary. Instead of killing him immediately, they chose something far worse. They would hunt him. Colter was stripped of nearly everything. His weapons were taken. His possessions were removed. Soon he stood exposed and vulnerable. Then he noticed something strange. The warriors were clearing a path ahead of him. At first he did not understand. Then realization struck. They were giving him a chance to run, not because they intended to spare him, but because they wanted the chase, the hunt, the sport. One man against hundreds, and John Colter was the prey. A warrior pointed toward the open plains. The message was clear. Run. Colter hesitated for only a moment. Then he began moving. First at a walk, then a jog, then a full sprint. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to go faster. Behind him the warriors watched, waiting, allowing him a small head start. The distance between them slowly grew. But Colter knew it would not be enough. No human alive could outrun hundreds of determined pursuers forever. Still, he ran. The tall prairie grass whipped against his legs. His lungs burned. Sweat poured down his face. The summer heat felt unbearable. Yet he forced himself forward, one step after another, one breath after another, because stopping meant death. Then, from behind him, he heard it. A scream, then another, then dozens more. The hunt had begun. Colter glanced over his shoulder. The sight nearly froze his blood. The warriors were charging after him, hundreds of them, closing the distance, faster than he had feared. The ground shook beneath their feet. Dust rose into the air. And suddenly, for the first time, John Colter understood the true scale of his nightmare. He wasn't running for freedom. He was running for survival. And the wilderness stretched endlessly before him. No shelter, no allies, no escape. Only the chase. And it had just begun. John Colter kept running. Every muscle in his body screamed for rest. His chest felt like it was on fire. His legs were growing heavier with every step. But the sound behind him was worse. The pounding of hundreds of feet. The shouts. The cries of the men chasing him. Each sound reminded him of a simple truth. If they caught him, he would die. The summer sun beat down relentlessly. Sweat poured from his body. His throat was dry. His breathing became ragged. Still, he forced himself forward. He knew the warriors were faster over short distances. His only chance was endurance. He had spent years crossing mountains and rivers, years surviving in places where weaker men failed. If there was one advantage he possessed, it was the ability to keep moving when others could not. For a while, it seemed to work. The distance between him and most of the warriors remained steady. But then something changed. One man began pulling ahead of the others. Faster, stronger, determined. No matter how hard Colter ran, this warrior continued gaining ground. Slowly, relentlessly, like a wolf pursuing wounded prey. Colter looked ahead. The prairie stretched endlessly. No trees, no rocks, no place to hide, only open land. The realization hit him hard. If he continued running, the warrior behind him would eventually catch him. And when he did, the others would arrive moments later. The chase was becoming hopeless. For the first time that day, John Colter began to consider the possibility that he might not survive. Yet even then, he refused to surrender. He kept running. One step, then another, then another. His vision blurred. His lungs burned. The distance between him and the lead pursuer continued shrinking. Soon he could hear the man's footsteps, then his breathing. The warrior was almost upon him. Then something unexpected happened. The warrior threw a spear. Colter heard it before he saw it. A sharp whistle through the air. Instinctively, he moved. The spear missed. Barely. It struck the ground nearby. For a split second, both men reacted. The warrior continued forward. Colter looked at the spear. And in that instant, he made a decision that changed everything. Instead of continuing to run, he stopped. He spun around and charged directly toward his pursuer. The warrior was caught completely off guard. For miles, the prey had been running. Now the prey was charging. Before the man could react, Colter reached him. A violent struggle followed, brief, desperate, and when it was over, the warrior lay dead. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the shouts behind him grew louder. The others had seen what happened, and now they were furious, more determined than ever. Colter grabbed the spear and resumed running. But now the situation had changed. He had bought himself precious time. Perhaps enough. Perhaps not. Either way, it was the only chance he had. Ahead, he finally saw something that gave him hope. A river. Wide. Fast-moving. Dangerous. Most men would have seen another obstacle. Colter saw salvation. He pushed himself toward the water. The warriors continued closing in. The river was his last opportunity. If it failed, nothing else remained. As he reached the bank, he didn't hesitate. He plunged into the water. The cold hit him instantly. The current pulled at his body. For a moment, it felt as though the river itself might kill him. But Colter had survived worse. He fought the current, swam downstream, and searched desperately for a place to hide. Then he found one. Near the riverbank floated a pile of driftwood and debris. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. Carefully, he slipped beneath it. Only his face remained above the water, barely enough to breathe. Then he waited. Minutes passed, then hours. The warriors arrived at the river. They searched both banks. They looked downstream. They shouted to one another. At times they came terrifyingly close. Close enough that Colter could hear their voices. Close enough that discovery seemed inevitable. Yet somehow, they never found him. As darkness approached, the search gradually slowed. The warriors eventually gave up. One by one, they disappeared into the wilderness. John Colter remained hidden, not moving, not speaking, waiting, even after night fell, even after the sounds of pursuit had faded. He knew better than to trust good fortune too quickly. When he finally emerged from the river, he was exhausted beyond words. His body trembled, his feet were torn and bleeding. He had no food, no weapon beyond the spear, and no certainty that his pursuers had truly abandoned the hunt. But he was alive, and that was enough. The ordeal was not over. He still faced days of travel through dangerous wilderness, days without proper supplies, days without safety. Yet compared to what he had already survived, those challenges seemed almost manageable. Slowly, painfully, John Colter began moving toward civilization. Weeks later, he finally reached safety. The story he told sounded impossible. Many refused to believe it. How could one man escape hundreds of pursuers? How could anyone survive such a hunt? Yet those who knew John Colter understood something important. He was no ordinary man. The frontier demanded extraordinary people, and few were more extraordinary than him. His escape became known as Colter's Run, a story passed from trapper to trapper, from campfire to campfire, across generations. Even today, more than 2 centuries later, it remains one of the greatest survival stories ever told. Not because John Colter was stronger than everyone else, not because he was fearless, but because when death seemed certain, he kept running, and sometimes that is enough.